guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing my April wrap up. I feel like I read a ton in April, but didn't get through a ton. But I ended up getting through 5 books, so that's really not bad. But I definitely left several spilling over into May, and I think that's why it feels like, man, I did not complete a bunch of stuff. But I have 4 that I was actively reading in April that had to carry over into May. So that's a lot. So it definitely feels like didn't complete a ton, but I definitely did. I only had 1 DNF in April, and that was Half a King by Joe Abercrombie. And this one, I'm not even sure that I could tell you why I didn't really like it. I just didn't really connect with the character. And I think I finally pinpointed that I didn't feel a lot of emotion with this character. And so I just didn't care. And I was checked out quick in this book. And so I just couldn't continue it on anymore. But in this one, we're following this dude, Yari, I think is his name. And he is suddenly thrust into being a king. And he is dealing with a deformity, and he is not supposed to be a king. His dad was king, and then his brother was supposed to take his place. They died suddenly. It's in the first couple pages, so it's not a spoiler. That's the whole point of the book. And so he ends up getting thrust into this new position, and I just didn't feel like we had a lot of emotion from him. You just lost 2 family members, and we're not grieving that. You're thrust into this new position that you weren't prepared for. We're not having a lot of emotion from that either. So I'm just like, what are we doing? Where's your emotion? And I think that was my problem with this one. Now, it is YA, and so I think that maybe we just weren't going really deep. I don't really know. You would think he'd have a lot more feelings to be, if he's a teenager. But I don't know. But I just couldn't read it. The first one that I finished, though, was a buddy read with Books with Brittany. This one was When the Moon Hatched. This one, we are following the squirrel Rave. And the story takes place with her. Her perspective is the majority of it, but we do get other perspectives. And she's sort of almost like a street urchin, you would expect from, some kid running the streets or whatever. But she's also affiliated with this organization who is attempting to sort of revolutionize their nation. They hate their king, that kind of stuff, Well, we're following Rave, and she ends up getting arrested, and she ends up in a jail cell, and she ends up running into this dude who seems to recognize her, but she doesn't know who he is, and he kind of seems to know more about her than she knows. And so she ends up going with him, sort of, and they go on this adventure of her trying to flee, and then him trying to be like, what are you doing? And then him rescuing her, and just a lot of back and forth. Rave is a very interesting character. I really liked her in the beginning because of the fact that she is a badass. She is hardcore. The very first thing you see out of her is she's infiltrating this event to kill somebody, and you just watch her kill him. And she is very much for justice, and if you are going to be a horrible person, then she's going to make you pay for it. She's also very much a smart aleck. She talks back to judges and all kinds of things. That's the one person you're not supposed to talk back to, but she don't care. And so she's been through a lot, and she definitely romanticizes killing pretty much everybody pretty much all the time, and that did get a little bit old for me. There were some miscommunication things that I didn't really like, just because it dragged on so long. Now, the world building is what makes this book what? Because there is so much happening in this world. We have dragons, we have all kinds of different creatures, and I'm I don't even know what's happening with this world. The plot I could stick with easily. The world building I couldn't stick with, so I really didn't like that portion of it because I had no idea what was happening. Thankfully, it was a buddy read, so I could ask questions and get their insight. They're oh yeah, I think this is this. You also have they called it elementals, but it's not elemental magic in that it's air, wind, fire, those things. It's these like gods, and they're like singing, and like you can hear the songs, and that gives you like extra powers or something. I don't know, something like that. I told you I didn't really understand it, but people definitely really liked this one. I really liked her interactions with the dude that she runs into that kind of knows her. I loved their interactions. They're very smart aleck, and they like banter really well. It was great. Like, I laughed out loud a ton. I laughed out loud a ton with her and her sarcasm. She was really great. I just didn't like nitpicky things. The next one I finished was Made for You. This is a Lynn Painter novel. This one was just a quick little romance that I read. This one we were following Abby and Declan. And Abby ended up not having a place to live for the week because it's being fumigated. And so she just stays in his apartment. Like, he's out of town, and she knows that because she cleans for him. And he's out of town, so she just kind of stayed there. Well, she ends up running into his parents, and apparently Declan had been telling his family that he was dating this girl named Abby. And so when she ran into his parents, they assumed that she was the girlfriend. And so now she gets a bargain to accompany Declan on these events for work and meet all of his co-workers and his family and like play the part of his girlfriend. So it's very much a fake dating trope. Why is that so hard to remember? So it's very much a fake dating trope, and I love a fake dating. This one we moved through quick. I think it's like an 8-hour audiobook or something. It's really short. So you definitely move through everything super, super quick. There is a little bit of like the miscommunication trope, but it's kind of okay because of the fact that they've known each other a week. You know, like, you're not gonna like put yourself out there as quickly as if you've known them a little bit longer. So I can kind of get past it, and it doesn't drag on forever because I mean, it's 8-hour audiobook. Like, you don't have enough time for it to drag on for ages, right? So definitely liked it. I loved their back and forth. I liked their relationship. I thought their relationship was really good. I love their dynamics. So definitely a nice, quick little romance if you're in the mood for that kind of thing. The next one I finished was Ward D by Frieda McFadden. This one was part of a Frieda McFadden vlog that I was doing. Ward D, we are following this girl, Amy, and she ends up going to this psych ward, Ward D, to work a shift. She is on rotation as a incoming doctor, and she ends up staying here overnight in this ward to like work her shift, you know? And a lot of things keep happening. It's one of those wards where the people that are there as clients or patients, whatever word you want to use, they are not like confined to the rooms. They're able to like walk out and about. And so she is really freaked out, like absolutely freaked out. She does not want to be here. She wants to call in, like, don't want to do this. And so she ends up going, and she is so freaked out the whole time. And it doesn't help that all the patients are talking about this dude who is out and about. His name is Damon. And they're like, he's loose and he's going to kill everybody and he's out to get everybody. And so she gets even more freaked out, and all these things keep happening. And she's like, what is happening? And nobody believes her, or they tell her, she sees something and then they tell her something, and then it ends up being what they said versus like what she thought. And so it's a little bit interesting. And then you've got these flashbacks where you go back to childhood, where she is dealing with the fact that she is seeing a little girl that's not actually there. And so you're dealing with this dual timeline. You're dealing with, okay, is she actually seeing the things that she's seeing? What is actually happening here? I like this one well enough. I like some of the twists at the end, but I definitely didn't care much for Amy. I was really interested in the whole, is she actually seeing things? Why is she seeing things sort of thing? I liked that. The rest of it was sort of okay. It was kind of fine. There was a couple of like nitpicky things that like pulled me out of it, and I don't even know if like things are different other places. So she's a resident, and whenever she is talking about like her residency, she's talking about like her third year being like the worst year. She's in her third year and it's the worst year. Like your schedule is crazy and you gotta do all these hours or whatever. But so I work in therapy and we work with a hospital here who sends residents to us, who spend a month with us on a rotation, and they interact and observe what we do, and I talk to them. And they've all said the same thing, that in their residency, their first couple of years are awful because everything is hitting at once and you've got all these terrible schedules. But like your third year of residency, then you kind of get a little bit easier of a schedule. So that kind of pulled me out of that a little bit, because I'm just like, is that right? Or do they just do things differently, you know? So that was a little bit different for me. The writing, oh my gosh, it was so dramatic. Oh, I almost forgot about that. So the writing was so dramatic. We'd get to the end of a chapter and be like, she looked at the file and it changed everything. And then new chapter. And I'm like, we don't tend to write books this way. And it was in first person. I double checked that because I said that in my vlog that I thought it was first person. And I double checked that. It is first person. If I am reading a file, I am not going to sit here and narrate a story to you saying, I looked at the file and it changed everything. Like, I'm not going to say that. Like, that, it just pulled me out like a lot because it just felt very soap opera drama-y, you know? How they're like, and it's like commercial. That's what it felt like, you know? And so, like, and it just kept happening and happening because it was like every single chapter would end in some kind of dramatic fashion. And so it was driving me absolutely crazy. And so other than that, it was good enough. But yeah, definitely a mid book. The next one I finished was An Unkindness of Magicians. This one has been on my TBR for ages, probably like 6-7 years. I'm gonna bypass it. It's been on my TBR a long time, okay? Long time. And this one is really quick and easy. We're following a lot of different perspectives, which was really interesting for me. I wasn't expecting a lot of perspectives. Like, maybe a couple, but we were following a lot of perspectives. But basically, what is happening in this world is we've got a bunch of magicians. And you've got almost like Targaryen houses. You know how like you've got the last name and like you're in this house and like this is your family and like everything's kind of separated by houses, right? So you have that kind of setup. However, the way that it works is we have this thing called the turning, and it is a magician's tournament. So all of the families, all of the houses, they send forth a champion. And that person could be a relative, it could be an heir, it could be a person who is contracted into your house. So essentially, you could have anyone off the street be contracted for you to participate in this tournament for you. This prevents you from having to use your heir because in these challenges, you may end up dying. So there is definitely benefits. But if your champion is contracted out and they end up winning, then they're allowed to like be in your house, you know? So like a little give and take there. Well, so we've got the turning starting and we have all of these houses who are attempting to secure their champions. And it's a lot of like political things too of, okay, you're supposed to be with this people over here, but now you're over here. So what's happening there? Why are you turning against your family? Why are you disowned from your family? Like a lot of like those kinds of things. We also have the added storyline of this girl, I think her name was Harper, and she is aware of the magic world, but doesn't have a lot of magic herself. And her best friend was killed by a magician. She doesn't know who, she just knows she was killed by a magician. So her goal is to infiltrate the magician's world and find out this magician. So she's doing that. And then we've got all these other magicians who are attempting to secure a place in this tournament and win these battles, basically. Because at first, they're not deadly. But then as you move up in the tournament, then they become deadly. And the winner of the tournament actually gets to control all of the power in the magic world, basically. So you got a lot happening in such a short time, and you've got characters who essentially come from the street and like nobody knows who they are, but they're super powerful. You've got some who their parents are like leaders in this world, and a lot of dynamics happening. And I really liked this one. I flew through it. I thought it was super easy to read, super fast paced. The world sounds like our world, so it's super easy to like get into and adjust to the world. And it was a lot of fun. I love a tournament type setting, and this was exactly what I needed. So this one was definitely a great read. I messed up. There's another one I finished. So I finished 6 books this month, and I just remembered that. Okay, where was it? Okay, I finished The Inmate, and The Inmate was actually not my favorite of the Frieda McFaddens, but it was definitely much better than the others that I had read. In The Inmate, we are following this girl, Bridget, and she's a nurse, and she is returning home after having been away for 10 years. And it's her and her son, and she is a nurse, so she goes to work at this prison because it's like the only job she can find in the town. And she ends up going there despite the fact that one of the inmates there is her ex-boyfriend, and she put him in jail because he had attacked her when they were teenagers, and she testified against him, which is fair. And so she's working there, and she, runs into him occasionally, and she's also talking to other people that were around during that attack. And being in this town and being around these people again has brought up a lot of memories for her. And she has no idea if what she remembers and what she thought she knew that night is accurate. And so you're watching her learn new things, and you're watching her question herself and her memory and question her ability to judge character and all these things. And I liked this one because I really liked the back and forth between like, who was it? Is she right? Can she trust her own memory? I really like those aspects. The ending I didn't quite like. Just like a little piece of the ending I didn't much like. And I can't tell you because it spoils it. But a little piece of it I didn't like. I did like the epilogue portion of it because it tied back into like other things, which I thought was a really cool tie-in. I did like some of the twists and the reveals in this story. I've heard that Frieda McFadden does really good with like her twists. Like everyone really loves her endings, so you kind of just gotta like stick it out to the ending. This one didn't read as dramatic as Ward D, which I appreciated because it was a mess. But so then, I think the last book that I read was Never Lie by Frieda McFadden. And this one was definitely my favorite of the Frieda McFaddens that I tried. And this one, we're following this girl, Trish, and it's her and her boyfriend, Ethan. And they are going to see this house. It's not her boyfriend, it's her husband. They're going to see this home because they're going to like tour it and see if they want to buy it. They're supposed to meet the real estate agent there, and there's a giant snowstorm. So they end up getting trapped, and they go into the home in order to just like get out of the elements, right? A lot of like weird things start happening, and they realize that the home that they're in actually belonged to this therapist, and this therapist was actually murdered by her boyfriend. And so all of her furniture and all of her stuff is still there, and it's been like 3 or 4 years since this happened. And we're just chilling in her house with all her stuff, and Trish is a little bit weirded out, but Ethan just really loves the house. And you're getting also a storyline from Adrian's perspective, and Adrian is the therapist from the house. She was the one that died, right? Well, you're getting that timeline, but you're also getting these tape recordings because Trish finds tape recordings of sessions that Adrian had in the home, and so she's listening to these tapes. And it's interesting because you can kind of start seeing the pieces of everything of how Adrienne ended up in the position that she ended up in, and we're figuring out like who it was that killed her and if the boyfriend did it or if he was set up. And it's super intriguing the way that the story is told. And I will tell you that Frieda McFadden definitely gives you like breadcrumbs, and you think you're going down this one path, but you're like, oh, I was wrong. And that happened multiple times in this book. And I think that's why I like this one the most, is because we did get really good twists that I didn't see coming. And it didn't feel as if we were just like had the wool pulled over, you know, like, or like just smacked out of the blue. You know, I hate when a twist comes completely out of nowhere and there's no breadcrumbs for that. Like, you're just in it for the shock value at that point. And I like a twist that you can see the breadcrumbs and you can see how the author started that early and like fed you information that you didn't really notice, or you noticed but you thought about it differently. And so that's really cool. I really like that. And so Never Lie really had a lot more of those kinds of things that I can appreciate. All right, so I'm still reading several books like we already talked about, but I am on track to finish 3 of those this week. So this is the first week of May, and first full week of May. And I'm going to finish 3 of these this week. Like, absolutely guaranteed going to finish 3 of them. That's how close I am to finishing them. So I read a lot in April, which is really cool. I didn't get a lot of videos out, but I did get some reading done. But so I'm not finishing. I'm not going to finish this one. But I am working on Wind and Truth. I will finish Black Mouth. I will finish Best Served Cold. It's been 4 months, I know, but we're going to finally finish it. And then I am also going to finish Empire the Vampire. Like, we've got some great books, and definitely be on the lookout for some of the vlogs in the next month or so, because all of these are included in different vlogs. The Wind and Truth vlog may take a little bit longer to get out because it's a solo vlog, and so it depends on how long it takes me to read this. I am almost halfway though, so we're definitely making progress. And then the book of the month, can you guess it? The Unkindness of Magicians. It's definitely going to be the best book from this month. Now, will it make my top 10? Doubtful, but maybe. It just depends. There has definitely been several good books that I've read so far this year, and so who knows if this will end up making it to top 10 at the end of the year, but we will see. All right, guys, that is all for now. What books did you read in April? Did you read anything fun? Did you have any that you absolutely hated? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.